I'm going to just do a very simple little inlay here, and you can watch along. We can talk about how I do it and why I do it the way that I do. So,
Man, I don't know what to say.
You don't need to say anything.
Oh my goodness, that is gorgeous.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing!
Wow, that is beautiful.
If you'd like to follow the process of turning a block of wood like this into a guitar like this, then you've come to the right place. And if you would like to see me give this guitar away, click subscribe, hit the bell. In an uncontrolled environment, I think that's going to be an incredible headstock. Thanks for coming and joining me on Let's Build a Guitar. Today, I'm going to be working on getting ready to do some work on this particular guitar neck. I'm going to be doing some inlay work. I want to first try out my new tools on this neck because I just invested in a few new things. Well, as you can see, I am stepping up my game. I'm getting ready to be able to do some fretting, refretting. Got a fret press, got a high-end fret puller, protective guards. I got radius blocks for sanding for compound fretboards because I've got a 10, a 12, and a 16, so I can get that 10-16 compound, or I can do a 12-inch straight. Got my different arbor press, brass presses in there. And I'm going to be having a lot of fun with doing some inlays. Now, I've had this for a while from Dremel, and when I've tried using this, I get just a little too much shake in here. I can't get it quite tight like I need it to be. I invested in this precision guide to use with the Dremel, made by StewMac, or made for StewMac. I want to be able to do some really nice inlay work. So it's time to up the game. So there we go. That's what's in the box today. This isn't a tool that you just get down at your local hardware store. It's made so that it can get underneath these frets here. And I'm going to put these glasses back on so I can see well. But I just kind of come to the edge of this. And the way this is built is it gets underneath there, and then you just kind of work your way along. Now, the other thing I can do to help protect it is slide one of these along as well, and then that protects my wood. This was an idea that I got from Dave Roussan when I was up visiting him. He was just showing me, it's a very simple thing, how he keeps his frets sorted out.
Here's a bunch of, if you want to pan up here, you can see a bunch of frets that are ready. Some of them, the ends, the tangs haven't been taken off the edges. You notice there's at least one set in there that's gold. You're familiar with the gold fretware?
Yeah, I've used gold frets. And so I'm just going to take this piece of wood, which is actually a nice little piece of maple. It's good hard wood. And I'm going to put in 3 rows, I believe, with lines coming down here. I'm going to try and keep it nice and neat. And then I'd have 1 row, and I can label which guitar it goes to, and then the next row, which guitar, next row, which guitar that goes to. And then these can just drop right in there. I think this is gonna really work great. I first made it for 22 frets, but then I thought, you know what, sometimes I might do 24, so I just added some in between there, so I now have 24 frets. Because I'm gonna have a lot of loose pieces in here, I don't wanna actually bump it and tip it over easy. I did make these nice and long so that the frets can go down pretty deep with it, but I thought about the fact that I have got this old TV stand that's been in my garage for years, never used it, and well, these are actually coming out really quite nice, not too bad at all. They do come glued at times, in fact, oftentimes. I don't know if these were glued or not, but they came out quite easy. If you are experiencing an issue with that they're really sticky and hard to get out, they might be glued. And then you can use a soldering iron and you can heat up the fret and then pull them out and it'll come out much easier. And you don't need to heat them up a lot. However, if you have binding, like the celluloid pearl binding on the edge like this, you don't want to heat up your frets, because if you heat up your frets, you're going to end up melting the edges of this nice pearl binding. So I will not use that on this neck. I'm going to just do a very simple little inlay here, and you can watch along. We can talk about how I do it and why I do it the way that I do. I have picked up quite a few of these gold pearl. There's a golden tint to it. It's not a white pearl, it's a gold pearl for Woody Kane's guitar specifically. Woody just wanted to go with block inlays. He really liked that. He didn't want them trapezoidal or anything of that sort. We might try and do something fun down here on the 12th fret. Got to work on that one yet though, but we'll get one thing at a time, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of tape over that. I'm just going to use my thumbnail so I can mark where my fret is and I can see where that is. I'm going to measure and I'm going to get this squared up so that it's right in the center. That's just going to take me a moment. All right, I've got a 1 inch, exactly 1 inch square, and I've made my marks here so I can see where it's going to need to go. So the trick is I put this tape down, I make my marks where they need to be, and then I'll just take another little piece of tape. I'm actually going to put it on the back side of this. I'll trim my tape off. Just trim it off, so now I got the tape back there. I'm just going to kind of rub that on, make sure it's good and tight, which it should be. I'm just going to take a drop of glue. That stuck absolutely instantly, but thankfully I dropped it right where it needed to be. Now that my inlay is in place, I'm going to go up to it and I'm going to score it with a very sharp scalpel. I'm not going to go past the corner. I don't want to come out here. I'm going to end up making marks in my fretboard. So I'm just going to put it up there. Bring it right to the corner. There we go. Peel that tape off. I've got my score mark there, nice and clear. Once I've got it scored, I'm going to take a very sharp chisel, just bring it right up to that line, and just kind of work it in just a little bit. I'm actually not pushing all that hard because I don't want it to slip. Just going up, giving it a little bit of an edge there, so that when I actually start to do the route on this, that I'm not going to end up chipping the edges on the outside. Your chisel will just kind of fall right into that groove. Well, I'm getting this little Dremel attached to this precision base, and it's just as simple as really screwing it on, making sure it's good and tight, getting the bit in there. Now the bits that I have, by the way, are a special bit. These are a downward cutting bit. Instead of cutting upwards where the the blades will pull the wood fibers up, and then it can leave a ridge around. These cut downward and push down as they cut. I'm going to line up my bit with the piece that I'll be cutting out, and I want this to be, right now it's even. I actually want to make it a little bit shy of even, so if anything, this is slightly sticking up, because then I'll be sanding it down so that it's even with the fretboard. What I don't want is a dip. I want this to be even with the fretboard, and if I get this to be so very close by a little shy, I'm not talking even a 32nd of an inch. I am talking just the smallest little bit shorter than what this would be, so that it almost seems even there. So to do that, I just need to loosen these up and make the adjustment. Just pull it down just a little bit. Can you see that? I'm not sure if you can see that or not. I guess I'll try and zoom in, but it's just right there. Almost the exact same depth, just the smallest amount shy. It's really looking good so far. I'm going to make a little bit clearer line for me to see on the back side here. Now I'm once again going to return to the chisel, and I should be able to just work this down and get all of these edges cleaned up. Okay, there I have it. It's pretty good and tight there. There's just a little bit of a nicky gap in here where it chipped off just a little bit. Where'd you go? Anyway, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty tight. There are a couple little tiny little pieces in this area right in here where I will use a little sawdust. You put the sawdust over it, then you add a little CA glue or super glue, and that will fix that little bit of a chip in there. And you won't even see it, especially since this is a dark wood, and then chili sauces is an ebony, so it's really dark, and I'm even going to use a little bit of a black stain on that still to make it even a little bit darker. So that will all disappear as you do. And then once you have it where you want it, I'll use my little sanding block, go over it, and that's got the radius already to it, and it just radiuses that right with the fretboard. So I'm going to just talk you through this last fret here, or these last couple frets. This is a fret puller. It's a very nice little tool that gets right under there. Don't mistake it for a wire cutter. They are different, and I would not use this for a wire cutter because I would not want to damage these ends. But come right up to the very edge, just use a little part, make sure it's flat, give it a good squeeze, and it pops up just a little bit. I'm just going to run down this one. Don't try and take too much at a time. Just give them a little squeeze. The other thing I'm not doing, I'm not grabbing it and twisting like this. I'm just letting it pop up on its own as I slowly work down, and that'll keep the fret having the right curvature. And just work my way down. Just takes patience. There we go. No chipping, looks really nice, and then the fret still has the curve in it that it needs. I'll just put that up here where it belongs. I do have these that I can slide under here and use this just to help protect the wood, which it does, but I found that actually with this ebony, this isn't too bad just coming in here. And I'm getting really good results. Just going slow, moving down. There we go. And I didn't have any chipping all the way down there. So, and of course we're going to be running over this with sandpaper again with these blocks. So these short blocks are nice for, like this is a 16, which down at this part here, This is a 16, because this is a 10-16 compound radius. So I got 16 there. I've got a 12 here, so I can go to 12 up in this area here. And then, well, let's see, I don't know if you saw that. I do 16 down here, do 12 up in this area here, and 10 up here. And it's a 10-16 compound radius that we have on this neck. Got my nice new fret holder all set up, and it's working well there. Now, if you wanted to be really mean to me, you'd come in and you'd switch these around. That would not be very nice. Maybe y'all never make a mistake, but I know I do. So I am actually labeling them 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, 15, 17, 19, 21. If you're new to guitar, you might not know how those fret markers go on there, but there's 2 spaces here, 2 spaces here with a 12 in the middle, and that 12 is the 1 octave up from here. So that one is always marked, and it's usually marked with a double or something unique. And we're going to see about putting something unique in this one. That'll be the biggest one, and then the rest I'll be cutting down as we move down here. This is slow work. You don't do inlay fast. I want to give some props to Driftwood guitars. Wow, some incredible inlay work there. So go check out Driftwood guitars if you haven't already. In fact, you should have checked them out before you ever checked me out. So go check out Driftwood guitars and their inlay work. It's really incredible. I want to keep these edges the same distance from these frets as this one is from these frets. So that means I'm going to have to cut this down just a little bit. In fact, boy, with this, I might just use my sander and just sand off a little bit of that. I do have a jeweler's saw all set up, ready to go, but I can probably just do that. So what I need to do is measure, and I need to measure how much has to come off of this. It'll look consistent from these. Now, that's going to be the first 4. Then when I get down to 12, that's going to be totally different. And then these last 4, those are going to be similar, but they're not going to be as far away from the fret as this, or I'd almost have no I'd have no line in there because these are so much wider, obviously. But these will be much smaller, and I will cut those down. Well, one inlay down. Turned out pretty decent. I'm quite pleased with the way these block inlays turned out. They are a gold mother of pearl. They are just, square or rectangular in shape, but they turned out really sharp. When we get the gold frets on this fretboard, it's going to look really good with that. We've got a white mother of pearl here. This is gold mother of pearl. But with the color schemes, with those gold frets, it's going to look really, really fantastic. So I think that was a good choice with Woody deciding that he wanted to go with the block inlay on there. We're going to do something interesting in this 12th fret though yet. So that's why that's still blank. There's going to be something else that goes in there, and we'll get to it. So even though these look really quite sharp now, there were times when they didn't look quite so good. When you're doing inlay work, there are points and times when it's kind of ugly, and you think, is this going to turn out? But it does. And like there was, let me see if I can find it here. There's, you probably can't even hardly see, like on this fret here, on the fret 9, there's just, like, you probably can't even see it. You might be able to, but I doubt it. Like a little bit of a chip area that had been in there, but you just use the dust of the fretboard as you do some sanding, put it in the hole, put a little glue in there, and it disappears. And that's, I don't know, I suppose there are probably some guys that do fret work that don't have any issues of little chips and everything, but you're talking ebony, which is brittle, it's a hardwood, but it will chip. and you get those little chips on those very edges at times, and you just need to fix them with a little dust, a little super glue, or CA glue is what I was using. So the CA glue I was using is an extreme power. It's a very thin, so it can soak right into the dust of the fretboard. And so I just saved, what I was doing was I have this little spoon here, and as I sanded an area, I would scrape the dust and put it into my spoon, and then I would just dab a little bit onto it and make my make the hole full and a little bit heaped over, add a little of the CA glue, and then sand it off. And seriously, it looks good. It looks very nice. So I'm very pleased with the way this turned out. There are some companies that will spray right over top of the frets, and then the strings itself will just wear that poly off of the fret itself. Or there are companies that use like a nail with the head of the nail kind of grooved out, and then they scrape across the fret and then sand it, polish it, buff it, do that type of thing too. But since the frets are out, I will leave them out until I get the poly coating done, which is gonna be a while. And then I will have to clean out my fret grooves there. And I have talked about not really enjoying doing fret work and stuff, and part of that was because I didn't have the right tool for it, which I now do. It's over here. I got this arbor, a fret arbor, so that I can set the frets without having to hammer them in, and I can set them properly and not have a lot of issues with doing it. So I'm glad I made that investment. Another thing, guys, when I was getting into this tool here, which I thought, will I even use it? Do I need to buy it or not? I find myself using this so much for cleaning out the grooves and coming in here, and you have to just kind of scrape through and be careful as you do it. And you just get the little pieces out, but you want those grooves to be clean of debris. And so that little tool, it's not real expensive, really handy, looks pretty sketch though, right? It's got a kind of a sharp hook on there. I cut all the inlays out using a jeweler's saw and this little tool that allows you to cut in there. I don't have a blade in there right at the moment, but that's how I did that. Next, I need to do some more sanding on this headstock, and then I will pretty soon here join the neck to the body, and that'll be one of the very next things that we do. So guys, once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Coming and checking out, putting inlays into a fretboard. Hey, please like and subscribe if you found this useful or just entertaining. Yes! I am not just a how-to channel. In fact, you'll probably be disappointed if you're only coming to me for how-to, because this is more like, this is what I do on the side. This is something I do for enjoyment, and this is just you coming along for the ride as I work on building custom guitars. Thanks for watching. Keep fighting for joy. We'll see you next time.